Hey there, hope you're well. Welcome back to watching me code with ChatGPT/AI. Now, this video is a continuation, it's a part 2. In the last video, and we're on here, Po.com, and Po is a great website for accessing all the modern LLMs, and I'm just using, it's actually quite old by now, but it's still very good, ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. And what we did last time was create a bash script, and this bash script, what it basically did was I gave it these instructions, and it's basically stopping an EC2 instance, taking an image, an AMI, and then starting the instance again. But I gave it some very specific instructions about monitoring the state and then displaying status messages, and it came up with this bash script. Actually, there was a problem with it. I asked it to add some other checks, and this is the final bash script, and we ran this and it worked great. It checks that there's an argument first, which is the instance ID, and it then stops it, creates the AMI, starts it again, displays status messages, etc. Now, what I did just recently, I would have done this live, but I had a problem with the video, so I actually then went and I said, I need a Python script that will stop. I summarized it again, stop an EC2, create an AMI, and then start. I said, I already have this working in a bash script, so please can you convert this to Python? And that's what we're doing in this video. We're going to run this Python. I said, do not use the AWS CLI, just in case it thought I wanted to issue operating system commands. Do not use it. Instead, you should use Boto3 library. And here is the bash script that I used earlier, and I pasted this in. So there it is. One thing I forgot to tell it was I wanted to make clear I'm authenticating using environment variables on the local OS, Linux. And I forgot to mention that, but actually it gave this and it gave a little note I want to show you. It says, remember that you need to have your AWS cred set up either in a file or environment variables. So that's great. Fantastic. It guessed already. And one thing I like that it says here, it says here's the equivalent Python to achieve the same functionality as your bash script. So next time I write this instruction, I'm actually going to say here, I want to achieve the same functionality as my existing bash script, because I like the way it says that. That's exactly what I wanted. It actually guessed. And just a quick run through before we run it, we should definitely sanity check this just to make sure it's not doing anything destructive. So it's importing Boto3 as I told it to. It's also using a standard library, so that's great. Because sometimes if you have too many libraries, you look at it, you think it might be unnecessary, you can go back and you can tell the AI, please, I prefer standard libraries. But in this case, it wasn't necessary. And it's got 3 functions: stop instance, create image, start the instance. And if you look at all these, it's doing pretty similar things. So first it creates an object based on the library, and a status message, and it's got a while loop, just like the bash script. It's got a while loop, and what that is doing is it's waiting until it reaches a particular state of stopped before saying it has been stopped. And it's got this loop runs every 10 seconds, and then it creates the image. It does a similar thing that until the image is available. So whilst it's creating, it won't do this, but when it's available, it will say has been created. And again, that's on a 10-second timer. And start instance is pretty similar. Waits for it to be state running, and it does that. One thing I asked it to do was I said, please modify it so the sleep duration is 5 seconds instead of the current 10, because I believe that's better. I don't think 5 seconds is excessive, and I think we're gonna get an update more quickly when it's actually reached that state. So it then created a new one here. It will now wait for 5 seconds between each check. And if you have a bunch of improvements, it's good to just do it one at a time and do a test of your own, come back, ask for further improvements. That's what I like to do. So let me copy this, and we're going to go to the terminal. I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to call this create Python. So let's cd into that, and let's create a file called main.py. I'm going to paste the contents of that script in there and save that, and let's clear the screen, So I need to install Boto3, but obviously I need to also create a virtual environment, so I'm going to do that very quickly. This is my preferred way of doing it. You may have your own way using virtual env or whatever. This is just the way I like to do it. That shouldn't take too long. And if I do a LSHA, there you can see it. So let's activate that. Activate. And it's now active. You can see that in my prompt. There we go. And let's do a pip install of Boto3. And again, this doesn't take long at all. Okay, great. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to clear the screen. And we do need an argument. I can't remember if this script does it have a check for the argument? No, it doesn't. But where is, so instance, provide your instance ID here. You know what? I'm actually gonna ask it. Please modify this script. Add a check to make sure the argument is present. If not present, ask the user to rerun the script with an argument. So it should be creating something new. Oh, I see. I actually had to use sys for that, which is interesting. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, one thing I already know straight away you can do with the script is you could say, I prefer that you use argparse. In fact, I might try doing that. Let's just see what it says. I prefer, for the argument checking, that you use argparse instead. Let's just see what it says. There we go. Argparse. I believe argparse is a standard library. I don't need to pip install anything. So let's see. Yeah, argparse is generally considered the better way. Let's have a quick read of this. So interesting. Okay, let's copy that. Let's remove the existing main.py. Let's do it again. Main.py. Insert this. Oops, did I prematurely do that? Let me just wait for the paste to finish before I do anything else. Okay. Save that. You know, I was kind of getting ahead of myself. I should probably have not told it to make that modification without at least testing what it already gave me first. But anyway, you live and learn. Let's see what happens. I might come to regret this, but let's run this now and keep our fingers crossed. Okay, great. That's working. The following arguments are required, instance ID. So argparse is all this kind of handling of arguments. So that's great. So that instance is here. This is what I copied earlier. I could use a CLI or go into the GUI to look that up, but you know, I took a note of it already. So let's clear the screen. Let's run that again. Put in that argument. Oops. And let's see what happens. Stopping the instance, great. And remember, this is all going through the Python Boto3 library, which allows us to make API calls to our AWS account. We're authenticated because the environment variables have already been set in the local operating system. So if you had this running on some automation like a runner, a CI/CD runner, then you would need to make sure those environment variables are set. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. So what did it do? Okay. Interesting. So it failed on the creating an AMI, and it said when calling the create image operation, AMI name AMI that one. Oh no, for the instance is already in use by that. Okay, that's interesting. Now I wonder if this is just simply an AMI that I had created earlier, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, give me an AWS CLI command that will display privately owned / created AMIs. Let's see what it says here, because I couldn't remember the command. Okay, so let me copy this. Let me paste this. Oops. This should show one that okay, so this is a pager. Okay, so it's showing one, and I'm just looking down here to see what else there is. Okay. So yeah, that's the instance that it created the AMI from. In fact, it's even got a description, AMI, for that instance. So this is one I created not long ago when I ran that bash script. And it created an image ID ending in 021, 5021. So let me quit out of there. And let me scroll up to that message. And it says an AMI for that instance is already in use by AMI. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I received this error. So I'm going to copy this text. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say, please fix the above script. Because an AMI was already created for that instance, it produced the following error. And I'm going to codify in between a pair of 3 backticks just to make it more clear. It's not code, it's an error message, but I think it's nicer. So I'm going to leave that there. But there's no. Always when you use AI, consider that it could be public information. I don't really mind exposing this instance ID and this AMI name. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to say, please fix the script so that if an existing AMI for the instance already exists, then delete that AMI. Now I could put in here, create a new AMI. In fact, that would be better from a DevOps perspective. It would be better. Then, so I'm going to say, please leave intact the existing AMI and create an AMI with a new. Is that what's called an ID? I'm just wondering. Let me just go back here. Is there any info here about the AMI? Image ID. That's what I want. So let me go back here. And please create an AMI with a new image ID. Now, hopefully, it knows how to do that based on what other people have done in the past, or maybe its knowledge of documentation. I don't know. We might have to brute force this and say just delete it. But I'm hoping that it can respect that. So okay, so it's coming up with something. You can modify the script to handle this scenario by generating a unique AMI name. Okay, I didn't know that. That's interesting. In fact, it makes me question how did it come up both times with this AMI ID. I have no idea how it does that. This could be my lack of AWS knowledge, but I'm kind of curious. Did it generate that based on this, or is this some kind of reserved AMI ID that actually can't even be changed? But it seems to think that it can generate a unique AMI name each time. So here's the new script, and we should have in this function here some logic for that. So it's saying if okay, we've got here. Okay, in this update, just a timestamp is added to AMI name to ensure uniqueness. Okay, I'm not sure that will work, or if it's hallucinating. This will be interesting. Let's see here. So So for the image name, okay, but the image name can be any kind of string. That's not really a big deal. I know that already. And what it's doing is it's passing this new unique image name to this create image command. And I think what it's hoping to do is it's hoping to come back with a new image ID. So that is super interesting. I think what I'm going to do, just to sanity check this, I'm actually going to say, we're going to go to startpage.com, search engine, and I'm going to say, how is AMI image name I'm going to put create AMI determine image ID. I want to know how it's doing this because I'm very curious. Let's look at this tab and determining the AMI ID. Okay, this is might give some info. Let's look at the AWS site first. So this is just how to do it manually. You know, right click, create image, and let's see here. Okay, this is really basic info. It's it's for beginners, for noobs basically. Let's have a look at this. So what's this here? Determine. Okay, this is just a command to find the image ID, and I am kind of curious how it's determined. But to be honest, I'm not getting any info on that. You know what? Let's just copy this and let's see if it works. I don't see anything destructive here. I don't know if it's hallucinating. We're going to find out. Let's copy this. It's definitely worth a try. So let me remove main.py. Let's vim main.py. Let's paste this in. Let's right quit, clear the screen, and you know what, I'm going to scroll up because it's easier. Let's run this command again, see what happens. So I think it was already stopped, which is why that first step was super quick. Creating the AMI. Is that different? A838. If I go back here and look at the error message that I pasted, it's different. So I think this ID is random. Well, no, not random, but I think it's unique, and it's partly determined based on the description that you give. And because the script now gives a new image name, this long name, this string, I think it's basically based on this. Because it's different this time and it's unique every time on the timestamp, it will therefore create a new image ID, even if I do this every second. So that's pretty cool that it knew that. It didn't hallucinate it. Let's go back to the terminal. It's creating an AMI. Now I know from experience it shouldn't take too long. It'll probably take like 2 seconds or something like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the script, and if I remember, I asked it to, I'm going to get ready with this command, and we should see the old, which is this one ending 5021, and we should see a new one as well called A838. So we'll just wait for that, but so far the script is working nicely. I like the fact that even though the instance have already stopped, that it didn't do any, it didn't go crazy. There you go, created the AMI, started the instance. Now I know this will be quick. Based on previous experience, it won't go through all the status checks. It will just make sure that it's running. So when I did this in Bash, at least in Bash with the AWS CLI, it reported back very quickly that it was running. So I'm kind of expecting the same thing with this script. There we go. And yeah, great. So let's do that command and see what images we got. We should have 5021 and A838. So if I look here, You can tell this is the new one because I think that's a timestamp there. So that's not a nice humanly readable timestamp, and that would be this is just like I think that's a Unix epoch timestamp or something like that. It's just a number basically, and so one improvement for future, you could tell the ChatGPT to improve this and make it more humanly readable. So anyway, if we go down here and look for the image ID, in fact, I'm just going to search for image ID. No, I'll just, you know what? I'll just scroll down and find it. There we go, image ID. Oh no, this is the 5021. So let's keep going. Oh, that appears to be the only one, which is kind of interesting. Or is it listing more than one? Hang on, images. Oh, okay, my bad. It was right there. If I type that search in properly, image ID, then it's got 2. And you can see that. That's the first one, A838, which is the new one, which has got that timestamp there. And the second one is just below. That's the other one there, 5021, the first one that doesn't have the timestamp info in there. So that works, and we could even test this again. We could even say, in fact, I'm going to ask it to make an improvement. I'm going to say, please modify the script on. In fact, I'm even going to give it a row number just to be very specific. So if I go back to Vim, I'm going to say on row number. So this is for creating the image. There is a timestamp, and that's on row 19. So I'm going to say, I'm going to quit, and I'm going to say back to here. I'm going to say on row 19, there is a timestamp. Currently it shows in numerical form. Please modify this to be humanly readable. For compatibility, do not include any symbols that would have to be, that would typically need to be escaped in Python. So I don't want it to put in all kinds of weird slashes or weird things in the date that you would have to use an escape character. So that's what I've told it to do. Not humanly readable, human readable, and for compatibility don't include symbols that would typically need to be escaped. So let's see what it does. Formatted date string, blah blah blah. Okay. So is this different from before? I don't remember that module being imported. Indeed, it is different. It's now this is getting arguably more complex, but what I like about this is that all of this, apart from Boto3, it's all part of standard libraries. So I don't mind if we're now getting a much larger list of libraries. As long as the rest of them are standard, I don't really mind too much. I have a dislike for too many external libraries, but this is okay. So what has it done here? Let's find it. It is now put in here. Where is the time? Oh, here we go. Image name equals current time. Where is current time? This is interesting. It has. I'm curious as to where this. Oh, there it is. There's a variable. Current time. So this is the new library, date time, and it's using now, and it's then converting that. Okay, great, fantastic. So let's copy this. Let's go back. Let's remove main.py. Let's create a new one. Let's insert this. I'm going to escape, right quit, clear the screen. We're going to scroll back up till we get that command again. And let's try this again. Stopping instance. Now, if we recall, it doesn't take too long to stop the instance. I think it takes about 20-30 seconds or something like that. So far so good, and we don't expect any issues here. The only thing that we changed since the last time is that timestamp. It's possible that this script could crap out when it starts to create the image if there's a problem with the timestamp, but I have a feeling that ChatGPT will have done that okay. Okay, great. Creating the image. Okay. So far so good. I don't see any errors here. Now, it is possible that we're stuck in the loop. However, I don't think that's the case. I could open another terminal window right now and do a list of those AMIs, and we would probably see that this new AMI is in a creating status. But I'm not going to do that. I'm pretty confident that this is not crapping out on us, that this is actually achieving what we want it to achieve. So, fingers crossed. I think we should be okay. So it's creating the AMI, and if all goes well, we should get some successful messages coming back. And what we'll do as a final check is do the AWS CLI command to have a look at the new image, because what we want to see is we want to see a nice description there with a human readable date timestamp and not that nasty number. I mean, for the purposes of creating a new unique image ID, the last script was okay, the previous script was okay, but if you're someone who is looking up images and you've noticed in the account that there's quite a lot of images and you're wondering what's going on, then you really need to have a good description and not just some nasty numerical date timestamp. And actually what you should be doing is having some periodic cleanup. So that's another script that you could make. You could make another script that could be run and could be set on a cron job or some type of event schedule, and to periodically clean up old images and to look for any images that are, like, I don't know, more than a week old or more than a month old or whatever your requirements are in your company, and delete old images, prune them. Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that images cost money. Usually on most clouds, images come out of your storage costs, and although storage is pretty cheap, if you have a lot of images, you're doing this at scale, you're taking AMIs quite regularly, then that can all add up. And great, there we go. The instance ran again, was restarted, and the instance is now running. Perfect. And we had this AMI 4B15. So let's run that previous command to list the images. We're going to have a look at this. And here we go. And we have here A838, which was the one with an ASCII timestamp. And let's go down. And this is the new one. And you can see here it's come up with that. So you can see here that this is 2024 August 13th at approximately local time for the server that I'm running this on, 15:14 and 17 seconds. And of course you could change that if you wanted it even more human readable to say AUG for August, for example. But that's pretty cool. I think what I'm going to do is one final thing, actually. I don't like this paged format. We only wanted to have the image IDs. We didn't need all the image information. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to do one final thing, and this is another cool thing that you can do with AI. I'm going to say, let's find that command. So I'm going to say this command below will return image information. Oops. I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to say please modify this. I am only interested in returning for each record the image ID. So we're going to help it here. This can be found at, so let me go back here. This can be found at under, oh, here is a sample. I'm going to say so I'll copy that. Oops, that's something else. I'm going to say here is a sample of the head of the file, of the output. that shows you how to reach image ID. So here's a sample. So ChatGPT should be able to infer from this that it needs to go into images and then image ID. And you will need to, because the output from the above command uses a pager, you will need to use the flag. I think it's no pager CLI as part of the new command. Okay, let's see what it comes up with. Okay, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. So it's saying you can use JQ for JSON processing. Well, the weird thing is it says here, and to prevent the pager from being invoked, you can use JQ for JSON processing. Well, that's a bit weird because JQ is for JSON processing. It's not really for preventing the pager from being invoked. And if you look here, it's put in this no pager flag. So I don't know if this is going to work. I have a feeling it's going to fail. So this is kind of weird that it's also got no paginate in there. So I don't know if these are legacy commands or something weird, and this is where, you know, maybe it's hallucinating, maybe this is deprecated commands. Let's just see what happens. Let's clear the screen. Let's paste this. And yeah, it didn't work. So I have a feeling already that I know what's going on here. I think I just need to, because of my knowledge, it just needs to be no pager CLI here. And the rest of it I think is good. It's using JQ-R to extract that. I forgot to tell it that this is JSON data, but obviously it knew that straight away. So let's try this. Let me clear the screen. Okay, interesting. That also didn't work. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to try running that no pager CLI on its own. Okay, that didn't work. Interesting. Is that command the same as before? I think my no pager CLI command is bad. So I'm actually going to Google this or use start page and AWS CLI no pager. Let's see what it says here. I think I had it wrong. So how do I turn off the pager? And it says here, no CLI pager. I had it wrong. It's not no pager CLI. It's no CLI pager. So let's clear the screen. Let's run this again. And it's no CLI pager. So fingers crossed. Oops, I need the rest of it actually. There we go. That's what I need. Let me clear the screen. No CLI pager. I think the rest is good. No CLI pager, and I think that's all good. So let's try this. Fingers crossed, everybody. And there we go. It's returning exactly what I wanted. I only wanted the image ID. I could actually tell it to return some more info, like the date or something like that, but all I wanted was just the image IDs. So yeah, again, you can see a great example of how AI can help. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I know I did, and please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more of these watch me code with AI type videos, and also check out all my other videos as well. Please share this as well. If you have Twitter or LinkedIn, I'd really appreciate it if you put a share on there. Thank you so much for being with me, and I will see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.